So the MacArthur Foundation is a great resource for people who want to think about the future of education. And they've identified a handful of shifts that I want to put the flesh around the skeleton of the ideas for you. And the first shift that's elemental is the shift between knowing and doing. And so what I want to say about that is that for all of those 2,500 years, until the last 10 years, education was restricted. Access to information and knowledge was restricted for that entire, in fact, probably for the 12,000 years of human life that we know of. It was restricted to those in power, those who had been educated. So it was restricted to the leaders, the shaman, the powerful, the professors, the teachers. That just changed in the last decade, because now everyone has access through the internet to everything. Facts and knowledge and ideas, anywhere, anytime. That has so changed. It is the biggest revolution in the history of civilization, frankly. You don't recognize it yet because you're at the front end of it. But that changes the basic dynamic and the basic expectation for teaching, I believe, in the future, if already you have access to knowing through the internet. By the way, in my own personal case, and perhaps in yours, I'll give you an illustration of how it works outside of education. So my doctor, my personal physician, hates it when I make an appointment with him, because I already come armed to the table with knowledge from WebMD, right? I'm basically going to him to check on his knowledge. But he's licensed, so I can't get the prescriptions I might need, but you get the point. And by the way, you can access, most people need about 5 legal documents in their life. You can access those free on legaldocs.com, and most people now do. So what I'm saying is that the power of knowledge and information has just been distributed globally. And that suggests a different role for teaching and learning. So doing. Robotics, you've heard many times in your exposure to schools, is a growing trend, let's say, in schools. This is an international school. By the way, I've spoken in, 34 states and 32 countries. So I've seen schools all over the world. So the examples I'm going to cite to you are the most interesting in this new paradigm that will develop with these shifts. So this happens to be an international school, and these are young kids. These are 3rd and 4th graders on teams, collaboratively taking on a fairly sophisticated STEM task: science, technology, engineering, and math. In this case, their robot, they have to build and program to find its way through a labyrinth, and at the end of the labyrinth, toss a ball in through a hoop. Now, I just want to say to the parents and the grandparents in the room, you want your kids to be in a school where 3rd and 4th graders have that level of sophistication. And I'd like to say to the educators in the room that this embodies even a greater shift for us to this extent. For all these centuries, and actually millennia, for the 1,400 years of universities, let's put it that way, we have organized knowledge in subject areas, as if the subject itself were the end game. Well, that's actually going to change in the future. Subjects will be in the service of creation, right? We'll still teach science and math and technology and engineering, but not as an end in of itself, but in the service of having kids actually create something, do something with the knowledge. This is a very big change. So at the more sophisticated levels, here is a independent school in Massachusetts, Falmouth Academy. Their competition a couple years back was to create a submersible robot. And the trial was to send the robot in a dark pond, retrieve an object on the bottom of the pond, bring it safely back to shore. So if your junior in your school could be on a team that could do that, this is extremely sophisticated. an engineering and mathematical task, right? If your kid could do that, where would she be going to college? Well, it turns out the captain is in MIT now because he and his team, actually right there, were so well educated by the subjects that they learn in the service of actually doing something, producing something, creating something with the knowledge. And one of my favorite examples, this is an inflatable donut grenade launcher. And the better example that I want to use is a snowball grenade launcher, because it sort of captures the theme of the day today for me. And the theme is you want to be in a school where there's so much excitement about learning that the whole school shows up for certain academic events, not just artistic and athletic events. So a signature event for one of our schools is the snowball grenade launcher competition. It happens to be a 6th grade event, so there are multiple teams lined up in the driveway or the parking lot of the school. And here's the final exam. It's pass-fail. The head of school agrees to drive his car across the parking lot at a prescribed speed, right? And so team by team, as the cars are going by, the snowballs get launched. And you pass, your team passes, if, of course, you hit the car. Now, all the excitement occurs because the head agrees to leave the windows down in the car. And so if the team hits the head in the head with a snowball, the team gets an A+. So the whole school shows up, all the parents show up. It's a big deal. Now, what I'm trying to convey to you and generate in you is, oh my God, this is exciting. The kids are actually in the 6th grade doing something extremely sophisticated, right? Now, by the way, part of that task is a rate, time, and distance problem. Do you remember how you were taught rate, time, and distance problems? Here's how it went. A train leaves Spokane at 3:30 in the afternoon going at 66 miles an hour. Another train leaves Seattle, right? Now, here's your choice in the school of the future. Do you want to do that train problem and 25 more just like it for homework? Or do you want your kid to be building a robot with a real-world test? So knowing versus doing is the story.